Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Shampriti and I hope all of you are doing well and your preparation for NET and SET is going fine. If you don't know yet, I have started a series called the Dinnery series where I will be talking about the major texts and major authors and major literary groups and movements in 10 minutes. Well, what I'm doing is not merely summarizing them, but gathering the most important informations regarding those texts and authors and literary groups and movements and whatever other subjects I'm making the videos on from the net set and get point of view. Mere summaries of those texts will not do if you are appearing for net, JRF, and SET. So you have to study those texts in a certain way. And in this series, I am trying to do the same. Sometimes it becomes really impossible, really difficult to talk about this within 10 minutes. So sometimes it exceeds 10 minutes, but I try to be as comprehensive and as precise as I can. And I'm sure you will really benefit from these videos. So if you haven't checked out the previous videos in this Dinnery series, they are on Paradise Lost and Pilgrim's Progress. So check them out and share with your friends who are net set aspirants in English literature. Without further ado, let's go to our video, and it's about The Westland by T.S. Eliot. You can imagine how daunting a task I have undertaken. But well, it took me a lot of time to make this video, PowerPoint presentation. But I tried to be, as I said, as comprehensive as I could. The Westland, it was published in 1922. We know that. And it was divided in 5 sections. The poem actually it is from the title. We know that the wasteland, a land that is barren, that is not fertile, it is an allegory of the world, bereft with, the world that is slowly losing faith in humanity, and it's totally barren, and there is no faith in religion, no faith in God, and it is destroyed by war and cruelty and everything that is not productive. It explores the London life in the aftermath of the First World War. Well, apparently it does so, but it has a lot of other aspects to it. If I talk about the Westland and I really want to explain it to you in my way, it will take months, even more than that. So it is really a difficult task for me to do this. Try to do this, even attempting to try to do this within 10 minutes. But please hang in there. I have done my best. There are frequent allusions to desert and ocean, as well as the bustling metropolis. We have the mention of the rivers called the Ganges, the Thames, which we will come to in the later part of this video. It is not only about the barrenness of life in general, but its style, its allusions to different texts across religion and across countries, different poetic forms and traditions. This is what marks the acme of modernity in this poem. Eliot also alludes to numerous works of literature, as I just said, including the Bible, the Upanishad, Shakespeare's texts, St. Augustine's scriptures, Hindu and Buddhist sacred texts, as well as French poetry, Wagnerian opera, and Arthurian legends surrounding the Holy Grail. It is basically based on the Holy Grail. But the poem is also strikingly modern in its references to jazz music, gramophones, motor cars, typists, and tinned food. It is kind of a conglomeration of the modern and the ancient. It's like the tradition and the individual. So as his essay suggests, Eliot originally considered entitling the poem "He Do the Police" in different voices. It's very important from net point of view. So the previous title of this poem was "He Do the Police in Different Voices," which is a line from Charles Dickens's Our Mutual Friend. In the end, the title Eliot chose was The Westland. And the note that he included in the poem, he attributes the title to J.C. Weston's book on the Grail legend, Holy Grail legend. The name of the book was From Ritual to Romance. So this came in Get 2022, and it also came in Set and Net previously. So this is very important. The Westland was thoroughly inspired by From Ritual to Romance by J.C. Weston. The book was based on the legend of the Holy Grail. The poem is preceded by a Latin and ancient Greek epigraph from chapter 18 of the Satyricon of Petronius. Well, if you read Eliot, you will know that almost all of his poems bear epigraphs. Epigraphs from, Inferno, epigraphs from Jew of Malta, epigraphs from all other, traditional ancient texts. So this Eliot's way of paying homage to the ancient. It's Eliot's way to, accepting the gratitude to the previous generation of literary figures. Well, the epigraph was, if we paraphrase this in English, it will come out as, "For once I myself saw with my own eyes the Sibyl of Cumae hanging in a cage, and when the boy said, 'Sibyl, what do you want?' she replied, 'I want to die.'" Whenever I just talk about this lines, I get goosebumps. Well, I don't have the scope faculty to be overwhelmed with passion over here, because I have to be precise and I have to finish it within 10 minutes, which I am really afraid that I cannot. But let's go on. Following the epigraph, there is a dedication. It was not in the 1922, the first publication. It was added later in the 1925 publication, and it was dedicated to Ezra Pound. Il Miglio Fabro, that, he added this epigraph, accepting his gratitude to Ezra Pound, who actually shortened the poem, The Westland, edited the poem. Here, Eliot is both quoting the line 117 of Canto 26 of Dante's Purgatorio. It is not really very important for you to remember the exact canto number or the line number, but if you can, it is good. But if you can't, don't worry about it. Okay, just know that it was quoted from Dante's Purgatorio, the second part of Dante's Inferno. Well, the 5 parts of the Westland are, we had already 5 minutes gone and we are just, entering. The 5 parts of the Westland are the burial of the dead, a game of chase, the fire sermon, death by water, what the thunder said. You have to remember these names as mantra. Okay. And the chronology is really important. So burial of the dead people are buried and they are playing a game of chess. When they are playing a game of chess, they hear a sermon. This is a fire sermon. When they are hearing the sermon, there is water and they drown in it. So death by water. And after they are dead, the thunder is saying something, declaring their death. So what the thunder said, in following this mnemonic, you can remember it. So the burial of the dead, and after their burial, they are in the underground and they are playing chess. It is not the event that are the events that are happening in the poem. I'm just saying this for helping you to remember these names chronologically, names of these books chronologically. Then the fire sermon, when they're playing chess, they are hearing a sermon, and then they die, drown in water. So death by water, which is the shortest section of the poem. And then what the thunder said. Thunder is declaring their death. So what the thunder said, it's the last portion of the poem, the Wasteland. So moving on to the first part of the poem, the burial of the dead. And it starts with April is the cruelest month, alluding to Chaucer's Canterbury Tales, where Chaucer said that April is sweet, and here Eliot is just turning this upside down by saying that April is the cruelest month. Then the poem shifts into specific childhood memories of a woman named Mary. This is followed by a description of tangled dead trees and barren land. How, if you read the poem really, sometimes just make time and read the poem. Of course, you will need the annotated version because Eliot has annotated. Without the annotations, it's impossible to understand the poem. So suddenly we are in a room with a clairvoyant or spiritual medium named Madame Sosotris. Madame Sosotris is a character from the Chrome Yellow. I will come to that later. So Madame Sosotris is a fortune teller who's a really important character in this book. Then we see a zombie-like crowd of people. They are flowing over London Bridge. Okay. It turns out Eliot's actually alluding to a real historical figure named Mary Louise Elizabeth Mendel, a Bavarian woman who was born into a family with royal roots. And then she became the countess when she was 19. She was also the cousin of Archduke Rudolf, the crown prince of Austria. Well, it's not important to remember all this thoroughly, but just know this might be a historical allusion to Mary Louise Elizabeth Mendel. There are intertextual references. The burial of the dead bears the intertextual references of Richard Wagner's opera Tristan and Isolde. Tristan and Isolde. Aldous Huxley's novel Chrome Yellow. The character Madame Sosotris for the name in Chrome Yellow. He makes it Madame Sosotris. Shakespeare's The Tempest, where in the burial of the dead, he uses this line, "Those are pearls that were his eyes." A man, a person who has been under the ocean for a long time, that the person's eyes have been turned into pearls. So there's allusion to The Tempest, there is allusion to the Charles Baudelaire and John Webster's The White Devil. Coming to the next part, a game of chess. It opens with a description of a woman who is sitting inside a really expensive room. The burnished throne, the mention of the burnished throne here is an allusion to Antony and Cleopatra. So just you are entering the poem, and you know that there are thousands of allusions to different seminal texts across English literature. Then the poet shifts towards a blank verse. So there is a shift in the pattern of the poem as well. There's a broken rhymes and fluid patterns. The pattern of the poem speaks for the condition of life, the condition of the socio-political cultural crisis and barrenness and fluidity of thought process at the time. Here we have some sort of painting or tapestry that is hanging on the wall, and it depicts the Philomela's transformation. Philomela was transformed into a nightingale. And this takes place in a sylvan scene. Sylvan scene is a phrase from the poem, which is an allusion to John Milton's Paradise Lost. Reminding you again, I have made a video, Paradise Lost, in 10 minutes. If you haven't checked it out, please go to my channel, playlists, the Dinnery series, and you can have the video over there. And I'm sure that you will benefit a lot from that video if you are really looking at a go-to glimpse at this seminal texts. Then we have the vision of someone being paranoid with the sound of wind coming through the doorway. Well, it is really difficult to talk about these sections in this haphazard manners, but I don't have any other option, because if I start teaching the Westland in detail, as I said, it will take months, even more than that, to cover this poem. So this is the most precise version I could make. So someone being paranoid with the fear of the wind, the wind coming through the doorway, is a very strong allusion to John Webster. And this time it's not the white devil, sorry, but the devil's law case, which contains the line, "Is the wind in that door still?" So if there is a question that a game of chess bears the allusion to which of the following texts? It alludes to Antonio and Cleopatra, Paradise Lost, the Devil's Law Case, and also the game of chess. A game of chess, the name itself suggests it's an allusion to Thomas Middleton's A Game at Chess. Also, there is another play by Thomas Middleton. The name is Women Beware Women, which is like a major text when it comes to net, because every time they ask a question from this text. In this text, a game of chess represents all of the moves a man makes while concerning and seducing women. So a game of chess is an allusion both to the play A Game at Chess and Women Beware Women. It's an ending. Good night, Bill. Good night, Leo. Good night, May. Good night, Tata. Good night. Good night. Good night, ladies. Good night, sweet ladies. Good night. Good night. This is a reference to Ophelia, who will die in Hamlet. So there is an allusion to Hamlet by Shakespeare as well. Moving on to the fire sermon, which is a very, very important part of the Westland. Here, Eliot alludes to Buddha's fire sermon. So, we are shifting to Buddhist philosophy. The fire sermon describes the burning of passion, attachment, and suffering. This section begins with a vivid picture of someone sitting on the bank of the Thames. So someone sitting in the bank of the Thames, and we have this echoing of the line, "Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song," which is from Edmund Spenser's Prothalamion. In the Elizabethan age, Edmund Spenser was a major author, major literary figure who wrote Prothalamion. There we find the line, "Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song." Spenser Thames and Eliot's Thames are totally different. So reminding this line itself is kind of ironical, because how stark the difference is between the Thames in the time of Spenser and the Thames in the time of Eliot, which is polluted, extremely polluted. We can have it in the Indian context, like the Ganga. It's extremely polluted. So Thames of Eliot's time is polluted with empty bottles, sandwich paper, silk handkerchiefs, cardboard boxes, cigarette ends. It's not different scenario from Indian context, is it? The sound of horns and motors which shall bring Sweeney to Mrs. Porter in the spring. Sweeney, the character in the fire sermon, is also an allusion to Eliot's own poem, Sweeney Among the Nightingales. And here we also have the allusion to Parliament of Bees by John Day, and To His Coy Mistress by Andrew Marvell, and also French poet Paul Verlaine. Then we have the character of Tiresias, the blind prophet, mentioned in Ovid's Metamorphoses. And we have this mention of Tiresias in the fire sermon. When lovely woman stoops to folly, stoops to conquer, she stoops to conquer, right? When stoops to folly and paces about her room again alone, is allusion to, very strikingly, very explicitly, Oliver Goldsmith's novel, The Vicar of Wakefield. You can, understand how deeply Eliot studied the history of English literature, not only English literature, European literature, I mean, world literature in general, so that he can weave all of those intertextual references to this masterpiece of his. Death by Water. This is the shortest section of the poem, only 8 lines. And here, someone named Phlebas the Phoenician drowns in the water and dies. Madame Sosostris, let me tell you, made this prophecy before that he will die, drown in water. Phlebas become a cautionary figure for anyone who walks around with pride or hubris. Okay, they think that, well, I'm not gonna die, I'm gonna live forever, and this is a reminder for them that no, we are not gonna live forever. You are a puppet in the hands of destiny. Moving on to the last section of the poem, finally, and I'm so sorry, it has already exceeded 10 minutes, quite a while back. But the thunder said, there is a strong allusion to the resurrection of Christ. And we have a very important line here. You have to remember this line. Here is no water, but only rock and no water and the sandy road. Everything that is barren, rock and sand where no greenery can grow. Allusion to an essay by German writer Hermann Hesse called The Brothers Karamazov. The Brothers Karamazov is a novel by Fyodor Dostoevsky. So the essay by Hermann Hesse is called The Brothers Karamazov or the Downfall of Europe. If the question comes, The Brothers Karamazov or the Downfall of Europe is written by, and there is option Fyodor Dostoevsky, don't take that option, because the right answer is Hermann Hesse, the German writer. And Brothers Karamazov or the Downfall of Europe, this essay appeared in his book Bleak Ends Chaos. In this essay, he decries the fact that at least half of Eastern Europe is already on the road to chaos, which is a motto of Eliot's, one of the important mottos of Eliot's The Westland. Here we have the mention of Ganga or the Ganges River in India. Black clouds are gathering in the distance. This is a typo, sorry, here. So black clouds gathering in the distance over the Himavant. So the mention of Himavant is found in the 5th section of the Westland. Himavant is both another term for the Himalayas and also the name of the Hindu god of snow. We also have allusions to the Upanishads, Arthurian legends, Webster's The White Devil, Dante's Inferno, Shakespeare's Coriolanus. So there was a question in net previously that which Shakespearean play does the Westland not allude to? So Coriolanus is there, Antony and Cleopatra is there, The Tempest is there, Hamlet is there, Macbeth is not there. Okay, so you have to remember that. There is also the allusion to the Spanish tragedy by Thomas Cade. When they live fit, you Hieronymo's mad again. Hieronymo is mad again. This is a subtitle of the Spanish tragedy by Thomas Cade. And the ending is Datta, very important. Datta, Dayadvam, Damyata, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So that is a line from the Upanishads. I don't know whether I was successful to give you a comprehensive view of the poem The Westland, but just let me know in the comment section, okay, if I have missed anything, if I have if I have given you some misinformation. I'm really sorry for that. Please correct me in the comment section. And if you like this video, if it was helpful to you, please don't forget to smash the like button and share with your friends who are NET aspirants, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, because more videos like this will come very, very soon, and other surprising things are also on the way. I'm working on them. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot. Signing off. Bye.